In this video, guys, we're going to look at signs of intraday strength. Stay tuned. Hey traders, warm welcome to you. All right, so signs of intraday strength. Why would we want to see intraday strength? Well, there's a couple of things. One is, obviously, if we're day trading, we're seeing some intraday strength. We're going to play the game of kind of buying and looking to kind of for a fresh move higher or a breakout trade or some kind of other trade. But if we were swing trading as well, we might say, okay, this is coming to a level I'm looking to buy. Do I want to see some signs of intraday strength before I get long? Maybe you do. And this is kind of, the bigger picture as well, understanding the bigger picture, understanding where the supply demand is coming in, and sometimes when the end of a down move, a multi-day down move, is potentially starting. A kind of great example here, one of the stocks that I've been in quite a lot is Cloudflare. I'm going to look at some of the markets as well, guys. Not going to be stock specific this. Intraday strength is when a couple of things that we can look at, and I don't want to jump the gun here. One is that we don't revisit lows, and two is that we're holding above the volume weighted average price if you're able to get that. Obviously in currencies, some providers don't offer a volume, so you can't get a volume weighted average price. But when you have a spike lower like this is a little bit different to kind of normal lows because it was a broad sell-off, etc., etc. But this is more indicative of weakness. If you're testing lows again, then that's not really signs of good intraday strength, and especially when you start to develop like resistance levels. So resistance level above here, to me, that's not a sign of strength. You've got some lows, you're above the VWAP, but you've got some resistance level. Compare it to an early kind of flush lower, push higher, the resistance level forms significantly higher. I know we've got some resistance here now, we're just kind of trying to break out on a very short-term time frame, but in the scheme of the move, this is much more significant, and we're well above the VWAP. The distance away from the VWAP is strong. That's indicating good intraday strength. So distance from VWAP is normally a good one, and whether it's revisiting lows. Now, some days, of course, you're going to be rotational, so you can't just, sometimes it's not so binary going, is it strong, is it weak? Some days are going to be, rotational. So let's have a look at something like Apple, AAPL, if I can get up there. Rotational, fine, not intraday strength at all. Keep revisiting lows. This is not a strong market. But when you go to a couple of days ago and you say, right, we had the low again, and now we're spending most of the time with resistance at highs. That's difference. Where the support occurs in the daily range that's done so far is generally indicative of the strength of the day. Now, does it mean that it's not going to come back to lows in the afternoon? No, it doesn't always mean that, but it's giving you a clue. It's saying, okay, people are prepared to pay more. The distance here, and if we zoom in a little bit, the distance away from the volume weighted average price here is the highest it's been for the day, and we're still holding at highs. We're still not far off the highs. We haven't tested the low again for a long period of time. The likelihood is that we have continued persistent strength into the afternoon, and this will happen with this type of this stock. So let's have a look at DAX, for example, and we can kind of see some ideas here. So if we go to a 15-minute chart, so remember the two things that we're looking at is are we revisiting lows, number one, and how far are we away from the VWAP. So DAX has been very choppy recently. So it's an interesting kind of market, and I know we can say, oh, this is strength, and this is an obvious strength. So let's go to stuff that's not so obvious. No point in having obvious things. We want stuff that gives us subtle clues. So subtle clues are things, if we're holding high above the VWAP, we're above the VWAP, the move away from the VWAP to the high side is the highest it's been, and we're holding, that's intraday strength. One look at a low and not looking back is intraday strength. When we're this scenario and we've looked at a low, we've looked at it again, and we're holding, and we're holding at lows under the VWAP, near to lows, that's not a sign of intraday strength. Even though you say, well, it's holding. Yeah, it's holding, but the position it's holding is relative. The position it's holding is relevant, should I say. The highs here, the lows here, we're holding in the lower quarter. That's not good. When we have a situation where you're like this, and you're holding in the upper part of the range, away from the VWAP to the high side of the VWAP, all of a sudden that becomes much more valuable. So we've got the position away from the position in the range, the position compared to the VWAP, and how many times we've tested lows, and also how far away from the VWAP as well. You know, another example on USD JPY, we've got a VWAP. Trading View is great for that. Definitely advise that. Prior day, we can talk about that as well. Of course, that's important, but let's just look at it individually for now. You know, the VWAP is holding price continually throughout the day. Any place we're holding is near to highs, away from VWAP. That's indicative of good strength. This is a more of a rotational type day because you've got 2 touches of a low. You know, you're holding above the high here, and you might say, oh, that's not too bad. It's not too bad, but we've tested the low twice, which isn't that good. If you want real good strength, you only want one test, and then you want to be holding above the high. So we're not ticking all the boxes for that thing, which is possibly why it came back in a bit of a neutral day. This was a bit of a wild card, to be honest, because it's a good rally. It's holding at highs, and then eventually it did peter out and it kind of closed a little bit lower. But this is interesting because this is, you look at this and go, this is good intraday strength. This is the time I want to buy this. I like this. If you wanted to buy on a higher time frame, you'd probably be all over this kind of little intraday flag. You're way above the VWAP. You're holding at the high end of the range. All good. This just didn't pan out. And of course, you know, there's no silver bullet for this, guys, but it's just looking at some of the evidence. We didn't completely reverse, but it wasn't the continued follow through that you might have expected, which I think why it's important as well to align any intraday idea you've got with the higher time frames. If you're seeing intraday strength, how does that compare with your higher time frame? Is it coming off a low, a little move lower in an uptrend? Is it in a flag? Is it in a breakout scenario? Where is it occurring and why is it important? So summary, guys, intraday strength, how many times we've tested a low? We've tested it once early in the morning. That's a sign of indicative sign of strength, indication of strength. If we're holding above VWAP, again, a sign of strength. If we're holding in the high end of the range, that's strength as well. We don't mind pushes lower and tests the VWAP, but it's where it's spending most of its time. If it's spending it above the VWAP, it's spending it in the, near the highs. If it's had a little look at lows and doesn't like it, we are assuming the supply demand has had a little look, doesn't like it, push back up, and it's holding. Not a silver bullet, not a perfect way of looking at the market, but it can guide you. It can be part of your intraday rules. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to look for longs until I see strength. Or if you're a kind of trend type trader, momentum type trader, different if you're a mean reversion, of course, you're looking for a mean reversion back to VWAP. It's a different play. But it can be something that you can look at and go, okay, well, these are my 3 markers for intraday strength. I've got a swing idea. Let me watch it intraday. Oh, we've pushed lower. Oh, we're holding now. Okay, well, maybe I'll take a long or stop below the low, look for a 3 or 4 day hold. That's part of my swing trade, but I'm looking for a kind of day trader's entry. Anyway, guys, that is intraday strength. Keep your risk manager, whatever you're doing. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.